At the turn of the century, when it seemed that the time of frame-bridge dinosaurs was irrevocably gone, and the word crossover was already beginning to be written without quotes, Nissan was experiencing a deep all-wheel drive crisis. So what did she have? An ancient Patrol with monstrous engines, a strange Tyranno R50, the fifth door of which went to the body panels of Lada Vesta, and a forgotten pickup truck. And then there's the contract with Renault. Do you think Nissan management fell into a depression and settled comfortably on the psychoanalyst's couch? No matter how. First, passenger models with an unusual design and excellent driving performance appeared, and after the crossover, the X-Trail, T30, which surpassed its competitors in all user characteristics, spacious, impressive, in appearance a real SUV. Huge trunk, good ground clearance, four-wheel drive, traction control. And the motors? The engines were different. A 2.0-liter gasoline was SOSO, but a 2.5-liter and a diesel engine were completely. Transmissions, the C, two variators, a regular automatic and reliable mechanics. The restyling of the next generation, T31, took place twice, in 2003 and 2007. Both are pretty successful. Moreover, in 2007 he even changed the platform, although outwardly he remained, in fact, the same. They say that until 2009, X-Trails were taken from Japan, and they say they are the best. Finally, in 2013, they showed a prototype of a new crossover, swift silhouette, modern design solutions. Nobody thought that he would become the new X-Trail, T32. It is foolish to argue that when choosing a car, size matters. There can be many reasons, an inflated ego, a plump wallet. But we are interested in the T32's cabin, which is significantly more spacious than its predecessor, especially on the second row of seats, and especially in comparison with Qashqai. The cons remain the same: poor sound insulation, the skin starts to creak, the interior, in general, is quite vocal, the steering wheel is erased, the climate is not easy to adjust, the windows fog up, it is inconvenient to use the power window buttons and only the driver has a closer. The rain sensor monitors the weather on Mars and works accordingly. But the driver's seat has become more comfortable. Of course, it is far from Murano with its breathtaking NASA seats, but it is noticeably better than its predecessor. The pillow is longer and the profile is more expressive. The new X-Trail does not upset with electrical failures, the roof does not leak, it does not blow through the doors. On the other hand, it is difficult to expect something like this from Nissan in the third or fourth year of production. Salon has grown due to the trunk, it's obvious. But the fifth door will no longer rust. Never, because it's plastic. The power gamut has changed, but not completely. Let's say gasoline engines have only added power. The most popular 2.0-liter now produces 145 horsepower, and the 2.5-liter, 172. The consumption of both is approximately 11 to 12 liters per 100 kilometers. 14 in the city, about 8 on the highway. But the diesel engine is now a 1.6-liter, quite heavily boosted, and develops 130 horsepower. The turbo diesel crossover turned out to be nimble and accelerates to 100 km/h in 11 seconds, consuming an average of 6 liters according to the passport, and about 8 in practice. Motorists working with Nissan for some reason do not like gas equipment. At least, they grumble that it is necessary to choose the most modern, otherwise exhaust valves and a catalyst are in the red. They say the software can't handle the new data and allows late injection. Well, they unanimously say that you need to take a crossover with the QR25DE, and not with the 2.0-liter, which is too overexerted on a heavy car. In addition, the MR20DE's tricky intake requires almost half a motor to be taken apart just to change the spark plugs. Here, of course, there is some exaggeration, but the manifold and throttle block have to be removed exactly. The diesel engine in the X-Trail T32 manufactured by Renault, which means it is very flexible, economical, and reliable. If the particulate filter does not burn through, change the gas station, and possibly the nozzles. Thousands to 200 run will need to replace the glow plugs. But if, after rain or during a thaw, in a word, in cool, damp weather, a car with a diesel engine began to start poorly, then you may have to visit not a minder, but an electrician and pay attention to the operation of the generator. Check the battery and then the injection and glow plugs. Sometimes you have to change everything on the list. The X-Trail does not really have a classic machine, only mechanics and a CVT. The manual box is 6-speed and sins only by knocking out the reverse gear from not turning it on. Especially often this happens on a diesel engine due to increased vibration. If this is systematically allowed, then reverse gears are triggered. In principle, you can try to replace them under warranty, if there is one. The CVT in the new X-Trail is new, sorry for the tautology. Nissan has its own markings, but, in fact, this is the same 8th generation Jatco, which is now put on half of the cars produced. The characteristic problems of the previous CVTs, such as overheating and rapid belt wear when driving through mud, seem to have won on it. And mechanics no longer throw a tantrum when using the words CVT and Nissan in the same sentence. The CVT has an increased gear ratio and off-road it has become noticeably more enduring. The all-wheel drive system, in principle, has not changed. It works reliably, does not like to overheat. By the way, the X-Trail has a very decent ground clearance, 210 millimeters, but this advantage kills a huge front overhang. In a rut and on shallow sand, the crossover is quite cheerful, but does not like rough terrain. According to servicemen, only two things can be said about the chassis and suspension: it creaks and does not like Fords. Otherwise, a typical crossover suspension is pretty solid and moderately stiff. In the provinces, stabilizer struts become consumables, then thrust bearings in front. The brakes are quite reliable and the scheduled terms are nursed. But the front hubs can pass water and dirt. Perhaps this does not happen often, but for some reason they immediately remember about such cases as replacing the hub under warranty. Without a guarantee, the node will cost $20,000. There are a lot of third-generation Nissan X-Trails in the secondary market. Only in Moscow and its environs, about 400 cars are sold. Front-wheel drive, by the way, is very small. There are only 76 of them in our sample. This is probably right, because initially the X-Trail was still an SUV, albeit a small one. Although now it is no longer a small one.